All right.
Okay, on. Testing. Transition. Hello, everybody. It's the online panel again. I'm not sure if anybody can hear me, so as a signature, we always start off saying, "Hey, can anybody hear us?" But today I'm here with my friend Dodo. He's actually been a guest with us before, and he is a story artist, and he's from Thailand. Prior to this, he was working in a studio in Thailand, and now he's a story trainee at Cartoon Network. So, Dodo, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, I'm
Hello.
checking my subtitles real quick to make sure that it's working properly. Okay, it is. Yeah,
Can everyone hear me just fine?
yeah, I think
Is my
everybody
microphone
can hear you. So today we're going to be actually talking about, being an artist who's international, how you're
working?
adapting, and also like a lot of people have been questioning, now how to get internships, right? So I think that's also another interesting area that you can actually definitely talk about as well too. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so like Jim just said, I'm originally from Thailand. There's Patradol, but just please call me Dodo. That easier and more memorable. Um, and as you said, I was working as a storyboard artist in Thailand before, and I moved to Los Angeles in 2016 to to go to school at USC. So I actually just graduated last year. That's pretty recent. And right now I am the storyboard trainee at Cartoon Network. So yeah.
Yeah. So what is a storyboard trainee? Is it the same as a storyboard artist? Just I think to
Um,
kind of preface that first.
so like for Cartoon Network, this is a program that they like especially um, have for people who kind of like they're in that transfer between graduates and gets trying to get the food industry. So it's a pretty neat program where they're gonna introduce you to how the system work at the studio. They're gonna like they're training you to be a storyboard artist that can work effectively and efficiently and kind of like adapt yourself to the program. So just
Oh,
like that's like the small gap between when you freshly graduate and when you're trying to look for a job. So the good thing about this is they're not going to put you right into the spot where you have to, know what you're doing. They're going to train you and they're going to introduce you to how things work at the studio, which is pretty nice for me.
oh, that sounds cool. So, like, give us a little bit of information about yourself. Like, how did you come here? What for? And like, what's your path like?
Yeah, definitely. I graduated from Mahidol University in Thailand in 2014. That was like my undergrad school, and I went right into the Mark Studio in Thailand as a storyboard artist. That's what my where my internship was, where my first internship was. And I always know that I wanna, just gain experience and travel, go abroad and learn more about story. So at first I planned to be there about 6 months before I moved somewhere else, but I ended up stay there for almost a year before coming to USC. And I came to LA in 2016 because I know that I mean if I didn't do it then, I'm not gonna do it anymore. So yeah, I took my chance. I applied to USC and luckily I got in. And I really enjoyed my time there. It was a 3 year program. Um, it's a master. It's an MFA program, so it's a master. So it's three
Mm.
years. I was there for 3 years and until last year, 2019, where I graduated. I did my thesis frame and everything, and started looking for jobs. I first got a job at a studio called Apartment D. It's a stop motion studio in Burbank, and I worked there remotely for about half a year, more or less. And then I got into Cartoon Network. So this is actually my first um, company experience in the US.
Yeah. But I mean, I know that because I've been following you and your journey and stuff like that too. This isn't the first company that you've gotten like an offer from, but it's also like that was a little bit. There's like a little bit of complications. Wasn't there a little bit?
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, the tricky part about being international is that you have to deal with this thing called visa. Um, that's a lot of struggle. because I first before I graduated, I applied for the DreamWork trainee program, and yes, luckily they offered me the position, but then they cannot hire me because my visa didn't come because these things take time and you have absolutely no control over it. So that's a bummer. But the good thing is like you get to have your stuff, you get to have them see your stuff, and you get to know them, and you get good connection. You get to know people who interview you, who has been connecting with you, and we still keep in touch. So that's a really nice. Just keep your heads up and keep
Yeah.
your attitude high.
Because I remember like the recruiter was one of my friend's friend, and then like when he met Dodo again, he was like, "Oh wow, your portfolio is really good too." But I think it was all like unfortunately mainly because of the visa issue, and I think that's one of the big things that international people usually face a lot. It doesn't matter where you travel; it's like the work restrictions.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so how's the situation like right now for you guys?
So right now, so for those who are international, you know that when you graduate, you're gonna have something called OPT, which is gonna allow you to work in the US for a year, and then you're gonna have to move on and apply for your own visa. So everyone process is different. Some gonna go for H1B, which is gonna require the sponsorship from the company, and so as artists, we can apply for O1.
Mm.
So that's what I'm doing right now. I
Nice.
haven't submit anything yet, but I'm just gathering stuff because I'm gonna be here for about like my OPT can allow me to work until June,
Okay.
so that's still a little bit more time to work on that. But yeah, that's kind of like one thing I'm focused on right now.
Yeah. And I think like when you were applying for your internship, was what did you do? What was the process? Did you feel like you did anything that helped you to get a lot of attention from the recruiters?
Um, so at USC we have a thing called Studio Days, which is like the day where we're gonna invite studios to come to our school, and then they can select people from the list, so that we get to submit our portfolio, and then they're gonna send it to studio, and then they're gonna select the people from those lists. And luckily enough, I got selected from several studio, and I get to talk with them. So that's kind of like we we build connection from there. Like I get to know recruiter from DreamWorks, Disney TV, Warner Brother, Nickelodeon, and a lot more studios. So I feel that helps a lot. So because you get to know them, and you get to keep checking in with them, follow up with them and stuff. When you apply for thing, you can just email them and say, "Hey, I applied for this," and stuff like that. Um, I'm to be honest, I'm kind of struggle with this email thing as well, because you have to know um, how to do it without being so pushy, and how to do it um, without being too demanding.
Yeah. So like for
So I
example, what do you write or what do you avoid writing?
so I um, I try to email them not too not too frequently, because like if you do that too much, then I personally I feel it's gonna get annoying. I always email them when I apply for something, when I see some opening um, on the website, and then I apply for it, and I email them and said, "Hi." Oh, first I usually email them and say thank you after the talk first. So that's kind of like the start of everything. So
Mm.
kind of like remind them that we meet today. And one of the trick that I learned from one of the recruiters that's really nice is that they prefer that usually a lot of people prefer that we use the same chains of email. So in case if they forget who you are, they can just scroll up and see so they remember, and that doesn't flood their email feed too much. So yeah, I did the thank you note first. I sometimes checked in if I have anything update on my portfolio website. I kind of, hey, this is my new stuff. Please check it out when you have time, stuff like that. And then I email them when I see some opening on the website I try to apply for example, internship, um, job opening. So yeah, I do that, and use a lot of them. Most of the time, they replies, and they're gonna say that they're gonna pass your information along.
Mm.
So that's I think that's helped a lot.
Yeah. So we have a question from Drew. Drew is asking, as a story artist, are you given background design to do, or do you have to create them yourself?
Oh yeah, that depends. That depends on the production. So I know that for the TV show studio like Cartoon Network, we usually have background. Um, I can, but sometime when there's a specific angle that you don't have the angle for that background, you kind of have to draw that. But well, remember you're a storyboard artist, you're not a background artist, so you can draw stuff um, that is kind of loose but clear enough so they know where you are. For example, if it's a close up, the background is not the main point. You can just do like you can do grid line to show that you're in the room, or if it's a medium shot, a wider shot, you can just put some element like trees or couch if you're in living room, and that doesn't need to be accurate, but actually, but at least have a readable perspective and have a clear enough shape for people to see what it is.
Yeah. Well, talking about perspective, because I'm very bad at perspective, of course. Do you have any like tips on how to improve some of these skill sets? They do any like practices or anything you can suggest?
Oh yeah, so perspective is tricky. It's tricky. It's I would struggle with it as well when I first learned it. Um, but eventually, if you do that, so you can practice it by draw from the from the real photos. You can just take your phone and shoot some photos of the background you want, especially for example, school, football field, anything. And then I wouldn't recommend tracing it, but analyze it, see where the horizon line is, and try put characters into it, try and put object in that, and
Hmm.
see if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's so funny because I usually use Dodo's portfolio to show to people sometimes of, oh, what a nice website this is. But Dodo's made a new one too. Would you mind like pulling that up and showing us like what you changed in the time and like why?
You mean my website?
Yes. So
Well,
like you can just present now on your right side. It'll pull up.
okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a look at Dodo's website.
Well, I think that the main reason I changed my website is because I want to change the host,
Okay.
because
Hosting.
I went from Weebly to Squarespace, and I would say Squarespace is much nicer.
So say
But yeah,
Squarespace.
that's some there's some there's some
Yeah,
updates.
by
So
the way, we're not sponsored by Squarespace.
I'm
Like,
not,
it's like,
I'm
oh,
not
this video is brought to you by Squarespace, but it's not. So, yeah,
no, I'm not being paid by them. But yeah, they I think
yeah.
they
Would you
offer a
mind?
lot of
Yeah,
freedom and customization.
yeah. Would you mind presenting your screen?
Yes,
Okay.
just a moment.
Dee, 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 dee. Yeah, because I mean, when people are doing different types of portfolio, a lot of people often ask, like, how do you arrange different types of portfolio, especially if you want to be like a story artist or even like a writer or something else as well too. And I think everything is like kind of a little bit more different.
Okay,
Okay, let's
is it
see.
is it coming
Yes,
up?
it's presenting. So let me change the screen to presentation so that we can see. Okay, we can see your screen now.
All
Let's
right.
see.
So
Let
this
me
is my
enlarge
website that
this.
I'm using right now. So this is a newer one. I made this. I think this is the one that I sent to people
Mm.
recently. So this one is like I focus more on story portfolio. Like for here, you have some cover photos, some context. Scroll down, you're gonna have some demo reel, and then you have this kind of slideshow where um, the website offer you
Mm. Yeah,
that
I
you
think
can
we
just click
mentioned this
through.
type of layout before too. That you said that a lot of people, like recruiters or like story artists, actually like to have this kind of a thing where you can scroll through.
Yeah, that's what I usually heard from recruiters and from people who look at portfolio. I think this is the way they do it nowadays. And I was looking at when I was doing my portfolio for my studio days. I was looking at a lot of artist portfolio. And I feel like this format is like is the most common one. I don't think it's the most common, but it's like the most effective one, I
Mm.
guess. I don't know, but it's worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have this kind of click through panels. This is for my thesis, Dodo, and I have this kind of thumbnails for them to see. And also, one of the nice trick that recruiters told me is allows you like to see the thought process. So it includes my sketches, my early thumbnails, my early design as well.
Mm. But it looks like
Mm-hmm.
it looks nice because it looks like it's a set before you start something new. It's not like there's
Oh
many
yeah,
things mesh up all over the place.
yeah. Try to keep it organized. It's like a lot of people said that. Um, I mean, when it's come down to it, I guess it depends on who's looking at the portfolio. Someone doesn't like clicking a lot, so scrolling this kind of scrolling format just work better for them. But someone less scrolling, so you might have to organize more.
Mm.
So you cannot please everybody, but just know what you are doing and have easy enough to go through to navigate. That's the most important. More storyboard. So like demo reel, you can just put your most proudest work first, and then come down. You can have a lot of different stuff.
Mm.
I think I have
Yeah,
like plus six storyboards in here.
yeah, and we can definitely see a little bit of the detail of the perspective and stuff too, where you put in some grids, very light grids.
Oh yeah, I think that's like my personal preference, and I like to put grids in because it's clearer and it's help when you draw. So yeah, grids everyone, grids helps. So it's gonna so it's help you to see this is an up shot.
Mm.
The camera's looking up, and this is a down shot.
Mm.
So that's easier. And nowadays, if any of you are using Storyboard Pro, that's there's a grid providing for you in that. So it's really helpful.
Yeah, it's like a like current standard mostly.
Mm-hmm. More designs.
So when you're putting these stories down, is there a reason you chose a certain story to put down? Like, are you trying to showcase something?
Yeah, so like I started with my thesis film because like this is my like the most recent one and the one that I would say the most polished storyboard, and especially because the film is done, so I can spend some time after being done with the film to refine the board and make it more presentable. And I spent a lot of time on this, and yeah, that's design and everything. And this is just some of my older storyboard that I did, and then this is more of a film from the older year, and some light drawings. So people keep encouraging you to put some light drawing in there. So that's always good to have
Oh, there's
some
also
sketch.
caricature looking. Are these studies right of people?
Yes, yes. So that's helped too. Um, at least that's what I heard.
Yeah. So let's take a look at your thesis trailer because I mean I thought that was really great. One of
The
the things is
trailer.
yeah, is it that one right underneath? You have oh this is your reel. Okay, let's take a look at your
You
reel.
can find real. Um, and yeah, so for this one, I have the animation tab where you can the story tab. You can click on it and you can go into each project. In case the person who's looking at your website like to click through stuff, so I have this for them. Um, so here's my thesis page and here's the trailer. Can I just play through here?
Yeah, go ahead. We can put
All
this
right.
into the chat as well too afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, let's
It's kind of buffery, right?
Yeah, I think it's buffering. If you send me over the link to Facebook, I can definitely paste it there in as well too. Yeah, so people
Definitely,
can
I would
see
say.
the trailer in live. I think it's particularly really interesting because I watched the whole animation as well too, and the one thing that definitely stood out to me was the pacing and then the storytelling in terms of like the perspective and the like it's definitely showcases your type of skill set. And I think one of the things that we were talking about in another chat before just yesterday was that we had a comment from one of the graduated students, and she mentioned that like, oh, it seems like when you're in school, sometimes you're focusing on getting your grades. That like when you come out, you don't really tailor your stuff to a portfolio worthy material.
Mhm.
So like, because you need to get your grades up and stuff too. Like, do you have any like
Right.
comments about that?
Well, yeah, it's so when a lot of people when they're in school, at least some of my friends, they don't know exactly what they want to do. They do know that they want to do animation, and um, well, it's a good time to explore what you like. You can try character design, you can try 3D animation, you can try um, motion graphic or storyboard. So I would say the sooner you figure out what you want to do, like the sooner you can focus on it and you can work through it through your story. And I know that well, grades are important too because you need to graduate, right? But if you have in mind what you want to do, and if you know that you like doing this and you want to pursue it in the future, I would say sometime you can tailor your assignment or your focus toward what you want to do. For example, when you do storyboard, you can when you're in the class where you have to do animation, you can focus on storyboard and make that good enough, but not too focused that you lose the track of everything. But it's good that you know what you want to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was trying to share your website, and it says it goes against the community standard or something. I think
Yes, I don't
Facebook
know
is.
why.
I think Facebook has been having a lot of issues because they're using a lot more of the AI stuff. So it's therefore it's not really working too well. Yeah, but I will actually put in with the location, and then I'm just gonna put a dot and a com separately. There we go.
Yes,
Okay.
that's how I did it. That's how I do it all the time. Because for some reason, Facebook thought that my website is a scam.
Yeah, I think that it does it sometimes a lot as well too. So I think yeah. But did you want to show us anything else today, like about how your process works when you're storyboarding something?
Sure. And we can talk about my own website first. Let's pull that
Yeah,
up.
let's look at that. Yeah, let's. I'm gonna go to your presentation, and then we can take a look at your website again. So we're gonna look. Is this your old website?
This is the old one. I haven't been updating for this for 2 years because it's kind of embarrassing actually. But yeah, we have this funny slideshow here with the old storyboard I have. Like as you can see, I don't have the click through version of anything yet because I didn't know better. I put stuff in this kind of tabs for people to navigate. But these are all my old projects. My thesis hasn't really been uploaded on here yet.
Mm.
And I put a lot of stuff in my artwork. It's like my drawing, my Instagram drawing. I posted on there as well. But um, that's it about. Whoops, I don't want to show that. And some link to my animation. So as you can see, this old one is not as focused as the new one, and it's kind of like it's not as simple to navigate through. So I think that's the reason why I changed it, like, other than changing the platform.
For sure. Because I mean, you still have like the same work, but you're choosing to kind of showcase it a little bit differently.
Yes, so I chose to do it this way because after a lot of talk with people who look at portfolio a lot and look at a lot of sample, um, this is like this way of presenting is usually um, the way that a lot of people are comfortable doing
Yeah.
and looking at.
Can we look at so is your reel the story animation reel? Can we look at that real quick so that we can see how it's laid out?
Sure. I'm not sure if it will reload or how it's going to play.
This is fun. That's really nice.
So that's it. That's like the collection of all the past work I did throughout the year. I also put in some startup panels and kind of make
Whoops.
rough and edit out of it.
Whoa,
It's kind of
sorry.
like the
That
way to
looks really
present
weird.
it.
Yeah. I just clicked on
I
my own
don't know
stuff.
if it's the right way to do it, but that's the real.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question for you too. Drew is
Sure.
asking like, what is something you wish you were taught sooner about storyboarding that would have helped you in the long run?
Um, Definitely how to present your board
Pitching.
effectively, pitching, and so a lot of storyboard class you're gonna start with the basic stuff like camera angle, shots, different kind of shots, and composition. For storyboard, I would love to learn more about how to edit, cut each shot together. I actually learned that along the way, and it's like I don't remember that was being taught in any earlier classes
Mm.
because we're gonna focus more on the actual shot. So when you put the shots together, they're gonna have to be a way to hook them up properly and cut them properly.
Mm.
So I would say a lot of my friends suggest taking if you have an editing class. If you're in film school, take the editing class. Um, I haven't took the class myself, but I figured that's going to be helpful as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, understanding editing is like the timing, and then it does everything to the storytelling, especially if you're a story artist too. I think a lot of people like like for me, I learned how to edit for like YouTube, something like that. Like when you see, oh, the people are cutting things in back and forth, lots of experimentations. But like when you see still boards by itself, it's one thing
Mm-hmm.
because people are going at their own pace in their own mind. But then like when you're
Right.
learning how to edit, then you're already actually it changes everything. It changes like how somebody's going to anticipate a shot coming up, or even like
Mm-hmm.
how like you give it a long kind of moment to kind of like juxtapose like something before you slam the action down on it too.
Yeah, definitely. So it's the thing that's good to keep in mind. And going off on that question, this is like the very thing that they taught us at Cartoon Network
Mm.
um, is to be considerate about people in different production departments. So
Mm.
like when you're in school and you storyboard for your own stuff, you storyboard for your own student film. Sometimes you can just draw it just for you. I mean, you're gonna make it beautiful just to show it in part of the website. But um, in the industry, when you are part of the team, and they couldn't strengthen this enough to us, but they keep saying that always thinking about other people. Do your best, do 100% of your job. And for example, when you're boarding, you might want to think about who are gonna look in that board. Maybe the animating team, the layout team, especially at Cartoon Network, where the show is usually gonna be shipped overseas for the studio overseas to animate. So you're gonna have to be super super careful about what you do on your board. It has to be clear enough, it has to be readable, and the most important thing is action note. In this case, like you can just if you have Storyboard Pro, you can just write in the panel what's gonna happen in that storyboard, and then and identify your characters. But sometimes if the communication is not good enough, you're gonna it's gonna lead to a lot of problem throughout the production.
And
So yeah.
it's so funny you mentioned that because just like last week and a half ago, I had one of my friends that they had like a group of voiceover actors. So they did it.
Mhm.
They started a project kind of thing, and then they had like some animation. They had a really good budget, and then also but then they had like they were working with another studio that was overseas, and so like they had storyboarders that were like that they sourced out here, And then when they had a storyboarder that they sourced out here, like they were like, "Oh, this is great," because they don't know how the process of how it usually works, right? So they just sent the boards overseas, and then the studio directly copied like they had a character turnaround sheet, but then like they almost directly copied the character from the storyboard, so the quality was
Yes.
really weird. And I think that's one of the things is that like you said, like when you're working with different studios, it helps to kind of know like where this is going. Like if it's for gonna be for a commercial, for like different things,
Mhm.
you know different skills.
Yes, definitely. So I would say instead of learning just about storyboard, take some time to get more understanding about other departments as well.
Mm.
Design department, background layout department, because they're going to be the one that's going to work from your board. They're going to get your panel and they're going to have to do, sometimes they're going to have to do background from your panel if you add some special shots and stuff like that. So you don't want them to be mad at you. You don't want them to hate you, and you want the production to go as smooth as possible.
Yeah, because
So yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot.
yeah, because I mean, like I also understand, there's economical decisions that you have to make once you're storyboarding.
Exactly.
But how far do you try to push your first draft first? Like in between of like understanding that hey, it has to be something that's doable within the budget, but also it should be something that looks good and tells the story well.
Right. Yeah. So usually, um, again, at Cartoon Network, I've been lucky enough to learn about that process, and then I learned that they're gonna have a lot of passes for storyboard before the artists move on to to another episode. They're gonna start with thumbnails, which is like the blueprint for storyboard for the episode. They're gonna they're gonna be handed some of the show are script driven, some of them are outline driven. They're gonna be handed outline or script per se, and they're gonna do thumbnails based on that outline or that paragraph of story. So thumbnail process should be really quick and really loose. And then after that, they're gonna have like 2 or 3 more passes on that board before they're tying down and clean up.
Hmm.
So along those process, you're gonna be, refining your shots a lot because you're gonna be working with the showrunner and the directors. So they're gonna be the one looking at your board, and then they're gonna be inputting some of the ideas, and then give you notes, and then you work from those notes, and then you're gonna pitch your board to the crew, and if that's ready to go, you're gonna be moving on to another episode, and then your storyboard gonna gonna get passed into production and then to the revisionist. So that's another position that's you might want to consider working well with them, the revisionist, because they're gonna be the one fixing your board. And yeah, so communication is the most important thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned storyboard revisionist because that's another position that my friend also worked on as well, before his
Yes,
storyboard and then revisionist. So it's really great for people who like are really good at drawing to become a storyboard revisionist too, because that's a way to highlight your skill set as well, is to help clean up
definitely.
some boards and stuff too. And I think that's also a position that like if you want to get into storyboarding, storyboard revisionist position is also another interesting one.
Yeah, I would say that it's it's definitely the the good position to consider, especially like someone when they finish right off school, they prefer being revisionist first because they can learn from the actual artist drawing. But also it's a taste of lifestyle because like even some artists prefer being revisionist because like you get notes, you work on that notes from 9 to 5, and then you can have work-life balance. So, but some people like doing storyboard because you get to input your idea and thinking about story a lot. So it's
Mm.
really depends. And I saw people jumps around between those two positions a lot. It
Mm.
depends on the timing. It depends on the availability and what's open in that time. I would say both are definitely great choices
Mm.
if you want to work in story and eventually become directors.
Yeah, Drew has another question. He's like, and I know the answer to this one, but I'll let you answer it. Have you ever done boards for other mediums like live action commercials or film?
Yes, I did that long time ago.
Let's show some examples because I know uh, at the Monk Studio they do a lot of his effects, feature films, and also commercials. Do we have some
I don't.
examples of that or no?
I, unfortunately, no. I don't have
Yeah, or maybe we can
those
pull up
old
the
stuff.
monk website real quick too, because I think they might have that on.
But at the monk, I've never done any live action story for the monk though.
the
Um,
the paddle
the only
pop
thing
one
I
was
worked on,
commercial, right?
yes, that one was like 3D
Mm.
CG shows. I did some board for live action student film because I was at USC and there's a film production major. They always recruit people to do board for them, to work on animation for them. And honestly, it's different. They're so much different than animation.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it also depends on who are you working for. If they prefer those kind of board that is super realistic, that's going to be challenging.
yeah, and I think this
And
definitely came
yeah,
up. Yeah, I was like, this definitely came up with two of the other storyboarders we talked to too, because one storyboards only for live action, and the other one storyboards for live action and animation. Mark Simons
right,
and yeah, and also it's such a vast difference because the person who storyboards just for live action says also that as opposed to animation, sometimes they might have less boards. Also more realistic. It's also like doing a guideline for cameras because like you have to have it for a real shoot as well too. While as like and I know that Mark initially was looking for people before when he was trying to hire people to do like some storyboarding for Netflix. And it was funny because there were a lot of people who did animation storyboarding, but because they didn't do live action storyboarding, it's very hard to translate the two if you don't have not done it before. So doing student films is definitely a great way to experience in both.
yeah, because both of them are just totally different thing for me at least. I feel like for animation, um, you're gonna you're gonna get more crazy and you have to draw everything and you have to be stylized on your animation style. But for live action, sometimes they have the set, they have everything blocked out already. They just want to see explore a lot more like camera angle and stuff. It depends on directors as well, because some directors just know what they want and they just want you to draw it out, how they picture it with the kind of footage, a set that they have. So everything is already exist. This go for animation as well, but also some directors, even though they have everything already, they just want to know if you can push the shot, if you can give them a more crazier shot. So when once you, so those kind of directors are kind of like more challenging and at the same time more fun to work with because you get to go more crazy, but you have to like that project first.
Yeah, and I think like, especially also if you're doing something for commercial, you like because my sister worked in advertising as well too. Sometimes you also need to present a storyboard that's a little bit more cleaned up because the clients won't really understand a storyboard that's super
Yes,
rushed.
yeah, yeah. I don't want to badmouth anyone, but funny thing is like, believe it or not, not everyone knows how to read storyboards. So so sometime when you have to pitch to a group of clients who is not who doesn't have any art related background at all, they just want to come and expect something that can can publish already. That's where the extra works come in. So you have to make sure, and as I mentioned before, it's all about clarity. And if your board is readable, I mean, the good thing is that if your board is readable to them, to the clients, that means your board is super clean and clear. But at the same time, you're gonna have to put more time into it and put more
Yeah,
thought into it.
it's definitely an advantage if you know how to board for different media. Like for advertising, for films, and for animation, because Mark Tibus did mention that like live action pays more than animation 5 times,
Mhm.
and so yeah, so therefore it's like the more that you are able to like like expand your skills and master it, definitely opens your opportunity too.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think one of the other questions I had was, like coming from over from like Thailand to over here, is there any big difference that you see in terms of like working?
Mm, yeah. Um, well, this can be applied for how different studio works. So coming from Thailand, I was at the mock studio, which is they're really nice, and I learned a lot from that. Um, but the thing is that, believe it or not, I didn't know that storyboard visualists exist until I came to the US. Because usually in Thailand we don't have that department at all. So everything could be done by the artist. They're all gonna fix it and everything. So coming here and learn that there's a lot more department, there's a lot more perspective to the production, definitely an eye opening. I was there when I was working at the Mook Studio in Thailand. The time I was there was like four storyboard artists, and these four they're gonna rotate around and work on every project. And yeah, sometimes it's gonna be a little bit challenging to manage, especially for producer, because they have to like take this person and have them do this one, and then take the other one to do that one, switch around. So that can be hard and tiring at the same time, but I do learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
And coming here, working at Cartoon Network, I know that each show has their own team. Like they're not gonna ask you with which department are you in. They're gonna ask you which show are you working on. So so definitely like each show is definitely different production team.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also, it's like a lot of times like when we are looking at studios in Asia, like well like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, whatever too. I think we're also looking at the fact that we get a lot of outsourced content as well
Yeah,
too, and like sometimes also like to India is like it would be like grunt work for like for example like VisFX they'll do a lot of outsourcing of rotoscoping where it's like manual kind of work too. Do you feel like that
yes.
like since like it's storyboard artist is still considered one of the creative jobs too. Like, do you think that's as a position internationally? Well, let's speak as in Thailand. In your experience, is that a position that is hard to fill, or do you feel like it's like a more common
Um,
for creative input type of thing?
yes. Actually, at the Monk Studio, we like we work a lot. We also working on a lot of our own stuff, not only outsourcing. So definitely, there's a need for storyboard. Um, I remember the time when I was interning there. It was 2013. I was intern at the art department because they don't have storyboard department. Interestingly, um, so the people who are going to do storyboard is going to be either freelance or the art team. And then when I graduated and I came into the studio in the late 2014, that was like the time that they just formed the first storyboard team. That's why there's only four people in there,
Mm.
because I feel like there's a need for storyboard in house. They've been used to freelance, and there's a lot of great freelance storyboard artists out there. But by the time I joined the studio, it's like I was like one of the first story. I was one of the first full-time in-house storyboard artists. Yeah, and yeah, and you believe it or not, right now, as of today, the board team is almost 10 people already. It's growing. It's growing. It's slowly growing. It's growing.
Yeah, because they're doing their own IP property, like and like they also do a lot of content for DreamWorks as well too. Uh, I think one
Definitely.
of the interesting thing is if people are looking to maybe work abroad, what are some of the tips that you would have for them first? Even like for example, if somebody's like, hey, do they even hire people in Thailand, even hire internationally?
Yeah, I would say um, get to know people helps a lot. If you have a way, if you want to work somewhere, like not only in the US, if you want to work somewhere else, you might want to get. I think the most easiest way is get to know people, get to know who you are contacting with, because the odds of just submitting your portfolio, just cold email people and submit your stuff, the odds of getting a job is it's so tiny. Um, so if you really want to go somewhere else and work or somewhere else overseas, I would say yeah, just do some research, study study what kind of style they want to go for, and also trying to get to know people through networking event like
Mm.
CTN is great, like Walk is great. You might run into someone that's not currently in the US,
Yeah.
or I would say sometimes cold email people is good, but not ask,
Mm.
but just don't ask the job. Just trying to get to know them. Maybe like, I like your work a lot. Can you take a look at mine? Stuff like that. Start from there. Hmm.
Yeah, and
And for people who want to come to US from anywhere in Asia, like Thailand, definitely learn about visa and get that thing taken care of fast.
definitely, because I even talked to one of my friend Tam who's working in Canada right now. So it's like if you get a job offer, usually the place can handle the visa for you. But that's something that you need to do your research on. No matter where you go, if you decide that you want to go to certain countries or certain studios, like sometimes they will have like things that if you know, you would have advantage. Like my friend Tam was talking about how she's in Montreal, working at an animation studio, and she doesn't necessarily need to know French per se, but it helps because she actually got two parking tickets because she
Oh,
couldn't read
nice.
French. Like she parked in the wrong spot, and then she got two parking tickets because she was like, oh, I didn't know how to read. So yeah, at least like certain basics are gonna help, even though you say, oh, the studio works in English, but the whole rest of the world doesn't. Like that country
Mm.
might not. So I think that's something definitely important. And I know the Monk Studio also has hired international interns as well too. We actually had
Oh,
Yuriko who introduced me to Dodo when she was an intern at the Monk Studio as well too, and who was working at DreamWorks, and now she works on a Rick and Morty show. And Martinez is as well too. She's now at Disney as well too, and she's Italian. So I feel like having the experience to look outside of just your country is also a good way to kind of experience different cultures as well as see a path to kind of exploring more options as well too.
exactly. Definitely. Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah, when you were
But that's something well,
yeah, go ahead.
no, just gonna say that that's always going to be adaptation that you have to adapt to when you move somewhere else. So you just keep open minded and learn and explore and just adapt to
Yeah. So now
surroundings.
now that you're working in the industry, what are some things that you wish you had known for like before this, or you think that like, oh, I would go back and tell me, when I was starting out, hey, do more of this or whatever.
Oh boy, I would go back and tell myself to board like crazy, just to have some stuff to fill your portfolio with. Board in different style, board in different genre of shows. Because me myself, I like doing comedy and I've been always doing that. I would try to have myself. I would go back and tell myself to, dude, do something different. So you have some more stuff to show. It's good to have like one of your main genre. So that's gonna be like the thing that you can show most of your strength. But sometimes if you have stuff that is different from what you usually do outside your comfort zone, something like that, it's good because they know that you can do that too, and it's open to so many more opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, do tons of board, do tons of figure drawing because it's gonna build your basic, and you're gonna get faster at drawing characters, more sketch, and also enjoy your time more.
Yeah. Because I would say that, like, when you're talking about that, it'll be like, oh man, Dodo can only do comedy. He might not be fit to board for this other thing. Even though, like, you're like, I can do that, but you have nothing to show for it. It
Yeah.
almost becomes like a little bit of a risk. And going back to the other project that was helping out with a little bit too, it was like they had a storyboard artist who was more versed in comic. Like a comedy, type of like Looney Tune style, and the style that they were going for was more like Avatar or like a little bit more like action based. So I think the first storyboarder was a little like took a little bit more time to kind of like learn the style, and like if they know different styles, it would probably have helped the project along a little bit more as well too.
Definitely, yeah. So, like, a lot of people said that it's good to have your own specific style. So, when someone wants something that is in your style, they can think of you instantly. But as the newly graduate or someone who's kind of like new to the industry and trying to get into those kind of industry, trying to set foot in the door, I would say it's good to be more versatile and have a lot of stuff in your portfolio to show them
Mm.
that you can do this. But always keep in mind, always like remind yourself what you are best at, what you are doing best, and so you have that, and then you have other things.
Mm.
And people always love a lot of choices.
Yeah. So words of encouragement, because there's some people who've been saying like I've been trying for years now, or like many many months now to kind of get into the story field, but somehow I don't seem to like get any response from recruiters and stuff like that. Like, do you have any words of encouragement or any like small tidbits you want to share?
Um, Definitely because I was there before. I would say no matter what, this is not your fault. So you have absolutely no control over this kind of thing sometimes. It's all about timing. It's all about if you're in the right place at the right time. It's good that you keep working on your stuff, keep working on it, keep it up, and keep getting better at it. It's good, and keep building your connection. So when I say it's all about timing, and what you can do about that is open yourself to opportunities, get to know people. Sometimes I worked too hard and I didn't get to go out and see people, and sometimes that's sad. So make sure you have your goal. You're going to work on your portfolio because you want to have it ready in time for example CTN or Lightbox, or you're going to have it. You're going to give yourself a month to do a portfolio and send it to a recruiter you know. So by doing that, you open the door to a lot more opportunities. And but keep in mind, this thing takes time, and if you don't get a job anytime soon, it's not your fault. It's just that something else is ready for you.
Yeah. There's always things, like I think that's the one thing I tell people is that uh, if you keep taking your feedback and you keep revising your work and you keep improving, it's like sometimes it's a matter of time. Because like when we're looking at things, like okay, maybe in economy, maybe like this kind of COVID situation, or maybe like we have things that are like they've already gone halfway through production, they don't need a storyboard artist anymore, or like there's so many different reasons that be like people can like you don't know all the reasons for sure. So like if there's some things you can control, some things you can't. So focusing on what you can control is usually a better way.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
also like going for smaller works first or smaller studios and like personal projects to showcase your work is not a bad idea either. Like, because a lot of competitions are at like studios where there are more people applying as well. So like it does like you build something up from there first. Because like you didn't jump. Did you jump right away to Cartoon Network? No, right? You said you were
No,
at the other studio first.
I, I was at apartment D
Hmm.
first. So yeah, just a story is right after I graduated, it took me like 5 months to
Hmm.
get my first job. I graduated in May and then I started my first job in October. And the story behind that, I got that job because I was scrolling through my Instagram one day and I was looking through the stories of people I don't know because like I just follow artists on Instagram. Oh yeah, another thing, social media helps too. So have Instagram account and start following people. You're gonna get better by seeing their work, and also you might know someone. You might get yourself known by that.
Hmm.
Okay, coming back from that story, I was looking through the story on Instagram, and then I I just saw someone um, said that this studio is looking for storyboard artists in that story. And that story is just a piece of paper with an email, writing the email of the person who's looking for the artist. And I didn't even know the account owner. So I just closed Instagram. I went to my computer and I write an email to them and say, hey, this is my work. I heard you are looking for an artist. And then they reply the day after. And I start right away. So yeah, um, I wouldn't think that's gonna happen. I
Yeah,
didn't know them before.
there's that for
It's the
sure.
time.
Because sometimes like they'll like sometimes the studios will be looking for people way before, like when before a project gets greenlit, they're like, you know what, we need to look at some portfolios so that when we come to get staffed, and that could take months. But sometimes they're like, oh my god, we need it right now. Like we need
Yeah,
somebody who can
sometimes
start
it's
now.
And sometimes there's not gonna put that on the website. I mean, I didn't know them before, but I would say they're super great. They're so nice.
So it's Apartment
Everyone
D.
is nice. Apartment D, they're a
Okay.
stop motion studio that do those kind of cool stop motion shorts. And the one I was working on was it was on YouTube right now. It's a stop motion mini series called Meet Josh Kendrick. It's like American Girl
Yeah.
stop motion.
Oh, this is fantastic. I'm actually gonna send this to some of our stop motion friends because they love it too. And we're actually gonna be having some
Yeah.
really cool things coming up real soon in our programs. Oh man, this is a really cool thing. So I can you like present your screen real quick and show them apartment D? This looks
My
fantastic.
screen?
Yeah. This is I didn't know about the studio at all, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah, so everyone there is so nice and the work is super cool. Um, but the thing is that I was working remotely, so I wasn't in the studio full time. I was working from home.
Mm.
But they let me go visit that stage and stuff, which is like super cool.
Yeah, I definitely would not have known about this studio, but it is amazing looking.
Is it showing?
Yes, it's showing. It's definitely showing. And I
Yeah, so
think that's
they're like a small studio in Burbank, California,
yeah. And
and they're usually working on those toy company project that
mm,
they're on short. And
yeah, I think
their stuff
storyboarding
is
for stop motion is a little bit closer to live action than animation sometimes as well too. Yeah.
oh yeah, I can speak a little about that too.
Mm.
So working for stop motion, the good thing is that you don't need to stick 100% with the model because they already have the set, just have it close enough, and they have the sets already. So you can be just more loose about your storyboard. But the thing is that sometimes they need the stuff fast. So you have to have everything done fast but readable and clear. And sometimes keep in mind that the puppet might not be able to pose the way you drew in the storyboard. So that's interesting. It's like,
Definitely.
yeah, I was working for them, and they were if you look up the American Girl toy,
Mm.
that's the thing that they use to start to animate.
Uh,
So they can only move their arm, put up the elbow and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a little tricky to pose those kind of stuff
yeah, cause
and
like
put them in this
yeah,
composition.
my thesis was a stop motion too, and then when I was storyboarding at first, I was just like, oh wow, I want to make sure that the stage gets to rotate and move and stuff like that too. But then I had to think about the physical movement. So I drew a lot of inspiration from stage plays, like Broadway's, because in Broadway's like they have a lot of moving parts, moving stage kind of thing too. And even when you're thinking about effects for storyboard like stop motion, sometimes you can do it in like vis effects in post,
Right.
but a lot of times too like you want to try to do stuff in physically as well too. So like storyboarding for that is like definitely something that is a little bit different from animation because it's like there are constrictions, there are rules to certain things.
Definitely. So yeah, I always get excited to see what my board will turn out into when
Yeah,
they animate. So yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think it was very very like insightful, especially to your internship search and also like your insight to how you like were building up your portfolios and what you would like give as tips to other people. Yeah. So before we leave, Dodo, I think we have one more question for you. And I think this is a
Sure.
little bit harder and different, but if you were not a storyboard artist,
Oh my god.
what do you think you would have done instead or gone to or you know any other ideas?
So not a star artist. So do you mean like not in animation at all? Like okay, I can shift around
Well,
in
you
this
can
this way.
shift around, but I mean like also if you weren't going to be in animation at all as well too, because I kind of want to know if like what other interests people have.
Man, yeah, that's really hard. That's a hard question. Um, I know that I like music a lot. Um, I used to be in a band. I don't know if I can make a living out of that because that sounds so hard. Um, And I guess if I don't, if the animation job doesn't exist in the world, but I still have this kind of knowledge and skill, I would like to teach.
I think that's a good
So
idea.
teaching is not too bad.
Definitely, me too. We'll look forward to seeing some of your teaching work in the future, or even being in a band. Like if you should send us some of your
I don't
work.
think I'm gonna be in a band anymore. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for coming in today. As a quick reminder, we do have an online portfolio review open to everybody. Usually it's like reserved for our members, but due to the situation, we wanted to kind of like bring more joy to the family. And so we partner with SIGGRAPH to kind of like do an online portfolio review. You can find that information on our website or also on our social media. We've posted in Discord the links as well too. So if you are looking to have your portfolio reviewed, get it in to us before the end of the month. It is like a limited slots, but we have reviewers that are from DreamWorks, Pixar, Disney, and stuff as well too. So this is a great chance for you to get reviewed by professionals. I mean, Dodo has also done some of that too as well too, and it's gonna definitely help a lot and make a lot of difference. And like join our Discord channel if you want to do some more chats and talks. We're gonna have another artist at the end of the month for a very casual chat. You can drop into our common room and talk to Vinod. Vinod's also like a previs artist, so he's working a lot for a lot of different studios, freelancing as well too, and he can give a lot of tips about that as well too. Yeah, so I think that's it for us today, and we'll see you back again next month. Well, not next month. We have a lot of activity going on, and we will have an online calendar coming soon, as well as some really cool activities. And by activities, I mean like classes, and we're working on it. We're definitely working on it. I think that's it. I keep forgetting something, but that's all I have to say for today. So thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, but first, how do I get out of this live session? I need to.
Let's close.
Oh, okay. I see how to do this now. Okay, and bye bye.
Thank you.